What Pope Francis, known as the Rebel Pope, could not achieve in his lifetime, he achieved during his death in his funeral procession. My friends, hundreds of thousands of people are gathering in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, led by 50 heads of state, 10 kings, and 161 delegations from around the world. The leaders participating in the farewell ceremony are led by U.S. President Donald Trump, who brought his wife, Melania Trump, with him. The late Pope Francis, known as the Rebel Pope, opposed major world powers in an attempt to achieve peace. He reached out to China and Russia, and the problems of the Middle East were his primary concerns in his attempts and pursuit of peace. It is well known that he attempted to reconcile some European countries with the Donald Trump administration. This was achieved, albeit only through a handshake. During the funeral prayers for the late Pope, a large number of European leaders shook hands with President Trump, including President Macron. This scene was repeated, as was the attempted quick meeting between U.S. President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky after the end of the Mass and the reception of Holy Communion. These were, of course, unplanned talks, as they quickly placed 2 chairs for the 2 presidents to sit on, and of course, these were talks about stopping the Ukrainian-Russian war. French President Emmanuel Macron did not rest until he forced the American president to shake hands or sit with Zelensky, even if only for a few seconds, in front of the world's cameras. This is a repetition of the same scene that French President Macron had done during President Trump's visit to the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral. He forced the Ukrainian president to sit and meet with American President Trump. The Ukrainian president sat in front of President Trump for a few seconds, almost shy in his movements. The sitting was immediately in the courtyard of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. My friends, what we notice, my friends, is the grandeur of the organization, the majestic calm of the procession, and the calm of the hundreds of thousands of mourners in a way that is difficult to convey given the sheer magnificence of the organization and the respect for the holy places where everyone was in their place. No shouting, no fuss, no wailing, not even a photographer moving from one place among the attendees. Its true barriers were erected inside and outside St. Peter's Basilica to control the crowds. Security checkpoints were set up, and defensive and security measures were deployed throughout the city of Rome, including anti-drone weapons, no-fly zones secured by fighter jets, and jamming technology. In Rome, the crowds left immediately after the end of Mass in full force and lined up into rows, quietly applauding, waving the sign of farewell to the procession carrying the body of Pope Francis. During the solemn procession that crossed the streets of Rome, after the Pope's body left St. Peter's Basilica and the procession passed through the streets of Rome, people lined up on both sides of the road to bid farewell to the car carrying the body of Pope Francis, a distance of about 40 kilometers from the Vatican to the Basilica known as the Virgin, which is not studded with gold and precious materials, like the Papal Basilica of St. Peter, meaning it is much more modest, and it is the one that will embrace the body of Pope Francis according to his will. And the people in both rows were Italians, visitors, and the large crowds who had arrived to bid a final farewell, and they were in a state of reverence and splendor of organization. According to relevant authorities and statistics, more than 1.5 billion Catholics watched this grand spectacle on television and social media. Millions of other people around the world were also watching the prayers on television too. Bid a final farewell to Pope Francis, who had requested a very modest funeral. May you live long. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. Your support really helps me keep creating content for you. See you in the next video.